Oh, good. Oh, it's
And then there will be a point where we want to play a video from the you've got the stuff. Yeah, Henry got it on so we're gonna play it. I think award. Oh, right, that's right. Okay, so you've got the award video, and then I've got one in that presentation. I want to make sure that oh, that was okay. So that's my presentation.
if I fall asleep, you better step it up a little bit, okay? So keep an eye on me.
Well, you need to get this room filled. You need to go get the people in here. Go get the people in here. Well, there was another video.
Yeah, it's
It was on it. I put it on his desk. Yeah.
Well. Yeah. Yeah, son.
At some point I want to he has a video.
I'll go find it.
I mean, it's not super scripted, but
Not really. Yeah. Who did the video?
she's like, I think going after. That's not going.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody. This is ready for the Washington Red Raspberry annual meeting. This is about our, I haven't even counted it properly yet, but we started in '76, so we're approaching 50 years. We're the Red Raspberry Commission in Washington State. So we're getting there, not too far away. Oh, you good.
I like the white boots better.
All right, I get to substitute for our president this year. I'm Henry Gerling, if you don't know, the executive director of the commission for the last while. John Mayberry is our president and has been for about 6 years thereabouts. He's been on the board about that long. He is getting turned out at the end of this year. And he used the opportunity to kind of not get sick and get the flu. He is really sick and he is recovering, but I'm gonna pinch hit for his portion of it. And then this is the rest of what we hope to do today. I'll have actually Joan Yoder. We're gonna have Joan come in and talk a little bit about food safety and what's coming right after I get done. And then Andy will speak a little about where we're going with our research program. And Mark will then talk about our promotion program and introduce our contractor, Allison, to speak a little more detail about what's going on there. Brad will then lead us through strategic planning and the advocacy part of what we do. And as treasurer, he'll also kind of outline the budget that we have outlined for this year. And we hope to take feedback on that budget because the board finalizes it in January. But the idea now is there's a draft budget out there. We wanted to present it to the growers. And this is one of those opportunities for you to review it, give us feedback, and then the board will adjust accordingly in January. And then we also are, one of our highlights of the last number of years is an industry service award that we have. We have we have a designee in mind, and he's here, so we'll enjoy that towards the end of our presentation. All right, these are the board members. You have a seven-member board. Two of them, or one of them, is from the WSU, Danny Gilardi. She is from Olympia, and she represents the state on our board, which is a requirement. The others are all from this area, and Arturo from Swim is here. John Clark has been on for a while. Andy Enfield now replaced Randy Hunkoop, who had to leave once he left the industry. And Andy took on the research portion of this. Mark Vermeersbergen is our promotion chair and vice president. Arturo from Swim. Brad Rader is both treasurer and advocacy committee chair. John as president, and he'll be leaving at the end of the year. And Matt Mayberry has come on to be the new replacement board member, and we'll have our board elections in January about how what our structure will be in terms of officers. And then we have two that we have as advisory board members. They are appointed each year. Brett Pell has been very gracious in helping us out with crop consultant role, and that's very valuable. Serves us in many different capacities. And then Joan Yoder as well in the food safety world, which is a key area of education that we have to pay close attention to. So let me just summarize what John has kind of highlighted as things that are going on, so we know what the board has been doing and talking about. We have a sustainability audit that is online. Most of you have got an invitation to participate in that. It is a lengthy audit. There's a lot of information in there, and we're not doing it just to torture you, believe it or not. It is about trying to tell our story well. Sometimes we can talk about being a sustainable industry, talk about the good things we do, but if we don't have data to back it up, our story can be kind of off. So we're trying to put some meat behind our story because we truly believe that if we look around the world where raspberries are grown, no one does more sustainability kind of work in a lot of these different areas, energy, labor, all these different areas than what we do. And so we want to be able to document that and be able to help our promotion team tell that story of sustainability. So if you have that link, go to it. And you can do it online. If you need it in paper, we can provide it. Get a hold of us. We'll do that for you. We'd like to get that done end of this month, in the next couple of weeks. We want to, by the end of the year, we want to wrap it up. So we need to get it to the people who are doing this for us. What am I missing here, Allison? Maybe you'll talk a little more about that. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, monitoring trade data. That's another thing that we're working on. We always recognize that we're competing with the rest of the world on an international market, and we make sure that we pay attention to what we can do in that area. I want to highlight this water rights adjudication issue here in Whatcom County and the Nooksack Basin. This is a major issue, not just for berry farmers, but for all farmers. And we are working with Whatcom Family Farmers and the Ag Water Board to try to address that as proactively as we possibly can. It is a challenge. I do think there are signs of progress, but there are also signs of red lights and warning that we need to be very attentive to. And there's several people here that are highly involved in that. I play some of that role in the Ag Water Board. Brad is on the chair of that as well. And there's some legal teams that have been meeting as well. So be aware of what's going on with water. Ask questions of me, Brad, a few of the other growers. It's an important area to pay attention to. We have a strategic plan in place. Allison will talk a bit more about that. Obviously, the labor question of how we deal with the loss of the overtime exemption over the next couple of years and it's being phased out is no small challenge. Working with Safe Family Farming, Whatcom Family Farmers is kind of our advocacy arm for that. Marketing programs with a Washington focus. Allison will show more about that. And then a big emphasis is this last little one is plant breeding. We all know our varieties are kind of tired. The old varieties are tired and the new varieties have strengths and weaknesses. We want to see more varieties with more strengths than weaknesses. And we've invested a lot in the WSU program. In fact, we've endowed a position there. Andy's going to talk a little bit more about that in a bit. Just some data, just to make sure you're aware of what's happening in our industry, as you probably well already are. For the last about 15 years, our production's pretty significant. We've had a really rough year in 2015. Otherwise, we were kind of back up what I would like to think is our average, around 70 million pounds in Washington State. And now 95% of that is within 20 miles of this particular place. It's in Washington. There's a little bit in Skagit, a little bit in Lewis, a little bit on the peninsula, but the vast majority of the berries here are right here in around Linden. We have that 70 million has been a tough goal the last couple of years. Last year, obviously, that heat dome hurt us very badly. And so we were down in that 45 range. This year, we expected to do quite a bit better, but didn't even break the 50 million barrier. So our production numbers are not where we want them to be. We hope to top that off and get the back up in that 70 range not too long. Another big one that just jumps out at you in terms of what the industry looks like is the number of growers. 2004, we had about a little under 140 growers. That jumped up in 2011 to about 140, stayed in that kind of up and down range, and then you see that drop off that just goes down, down, down. And every year we are seeing consolidation and not enough new growers in the business. The nature of the business did not attract a lot of new growers. And that's just the nature of things. We've got some growers getting bigger and other ones getting out. And that's not unique to berries. It's true of a lot of agriculture, a lot of businesses. But it changes the industry. We all recognize that. It's nice to have a number of different growers, a lot of different opinions and attitudes, and we appreciate that diversity, but it's changing. This is just where we're at. I'm going to have Joan come up here for a minute and talk a little bit about the food safety area before she introduces Andy. And Andy will, this way, Joan, the stairs are over here, yes.
Afternoon, I just wanted to give you a couple heads up. If you need a Produce Safety Alliance rule class, and that's going to be for growers that are newer coming in and smaller ones who have not had it, check with WSU, the WSDA's booth, Karen or Eric. They have a class coming up in Mount Vernon, March 16th. So that will take care of your FSMA requirement. Every farm has to have that. So if you don't have that certificate, please make sure you get it. Talk to the blueberry growers too, make sure they know that also. There is also USDA right outside here. Betty's sitting out there. There is a new program for underserved specialty crop. Those are growers that in a 3-year period from 2019, 20, and 21 who are under $500,000. There is money out there for reimbursement for your food safety plan, your audit, your water samples, soil samples, all that kind of stuff. You have to be under 500 million or $500,000. Okay, talk to them. The deadline for that is January 31st. Okay. The other thing is Michaela Staples Hughes and myself are putting together for both industries, the blueberry and raspberry, a workshop, food safety workshop. We're looking at the first part of March. If you need it, please sign up at the Redox booth, which is just back over here, so we have a count. But we will have some type of a food safety class for those of you that need it for your audits. It'll probably be anywhere to 4 to 6 hour class. So other than that, that's all I have.
Joan, why don't you mention what you're gonna cover?
Oh, well, if it goes the way we talked this morning, what we want to do is the new FSMA water rule is coming out, but it hasn't been signed off yet. Anybody that's got a USDA, WSDA, they can't talk about it because it hasn't been signed into law. So what we want to do is we know what's proposed. It's pretty much figured that's what it's going to be. So we want to talk about it. So we're a little bit ahead of the game when it comes out. So we'll be talking about that. We're also going to talk about how to sample for MRLs and that kind of stuff. How do you set your field up to actually sample to do it correctly? Because a lot of you, especially in blueberries, are trying to get into that world market and you need MRL sampling and all that. So it'll be how to do it. We're also going to look at sanitation of equipment, because that is a huge thing. How do you sanitize? How do you tear those machines apart? How do you make sure that you can verify the results that you're getting? So we'll be talking about that hands-on. We're going to try and get a harvester in here, tear it apart, and how do you clean it? So those right now are the main topics. If you have any other ideas, get a hold of us and we will try to find speakers if it's something that would be interesting to the group. But we're trying to do things that we haven't done in the past. Most of you have produce safety. You've got that in the bag. Trying to move to something else. So. Yes, both commissions will get the information when it's going to be, all of that, and then those commissions, we're going to try to do it outside of the newsletters so that it's not within the newsletter, that you see it in a separate email, so that you have, maybe you'll read it.
Yes, that's
I know,
what I
I'm
got.
sorry. I admit I don't always get that. So, any other questions? Great, and if you have any, just get a hold of me and I'll get you the information.
Sure. Food safety is an issue, obviously, that nobody really loves to deal with, but Joan's helped us so much in that. It's really helpful. Andy, you want to be down there, up here? What do you prefer? Whatever you want. There you go.
Howdy. I didn't know I was talking until Henry said it here a little bit ago. Kind of how it goes. I think when you get on the commission, I only been on here a few months. I missed the first meeting and became the research chair at that meeting. So, breeding program, Randy's trial site. The trial site's been at Randy's for years. And I think he's got 1 or 2 years left. No more plantings at his place. So we're talking about what we're gonna do with the breeding program and want to kind of upsize the trial site, triple the size of the trial site and have larger area of the same plants so we can have better trials, see the results, see what they look like quicker. And talking about, sounds like Brad Rader is trying to put something together where they'll have a site to do that, which is exciting. I think it will help the whole program be able to find varieties quicker because he can see the process all the way from growing the crop to harvesting it through the IQF tunnel and into the finished retail. Looks through all that whole process. So that's the most exciting thing going on with the breeding program, I think. Anything else on that? Wendy's been really helping us out. She's a breeder right now. We're still, I think Brad's gonna talk about the endowment probably. So that's all I got.
See the list of what we funded this year. And what we will be meeting in January to talk about what we hope to fund next year, this in the 2003. Which kind of brings up an issue that Andy brought up here too, is we are always on the lookout for board members. Board members are, we're not that, when you only got 40 growers left, and unfortunately, some of them are Canadian citizens and not able to serve on our board, which is a real problem for us, but that's the state law. We have a small cadre of people to draw from, and we need to keep increasing that cadre, and we need all those people that are in that are eligible to be interested in what this board is doing, because it's your assessment money, trying to work it to the best that you possibly can for your industry. So there's a couple options, get involved with the promotion committee. Mark will talk about that. Get involved with research and talk with Andy about that, and be open to serving on our board. Every year we have to rotate a few people off, and we are always looking. The board is always on the lookout for some new blood, because some of us have been around a long time. So, all right, these are some of the issues that we did last year that we worked on, and you've heard some of those talks going on that's got this show. Okay, Mark, you are next.
Good afternoon. So what I'm going to talk about a little bit here, we just brought up, I had the first slide was the 3 gals that work for Wild Hive. I guess, thank you for bringing that back. So Allison, she's the chairman, the owner, managing partner of Wild Hive. That's the marketing team that we contracted with a number of years ago, and Mary and Amber are 2 of her team members, and it's amazing what these ladies have done for this industry. I think as I look back over the years, there's raspberries in a lot of places today that they didn't even know raspberries existed 5-6 years ago, and that's in part thanks to these gals. Their knowledge in marketing, their connections as far as with registered dietitians and such. And so a lot of marketing is who you know. They have really helped us as a raspberry industry out in that area. The next slide, there's the members of the promotion committee listed there. And we have a very active committee. We meet 6-7 times a year, a couple hours when we get together, and we really hammer hard on some of the stuff that we're dealing with, and lots of really good ideas come out of this that then the gals can carry forward. I just wanted to highlight a couple of these more from a board member person speaking, and then Allison will come up and give the main talk, the numbers and the crunch of what some of this means. But these highlights of things that we've been working with is making collaborative. This got put together through the grant system, and I believe it was a $250 million, sorry. Anyway, $250,000 grant that has helped us work with some bakeries, and one you see here listed, Macrina Bakery. We've hosted some bakery, what do you want to call them? I guess they're sessions where the lead bakers of Macrina and other places, they get people together, and they've used raspberries in a lot of areas, and it's a great open door. We've been able to establish relationships with these people, and then you carry over the Harvest Tour, and again this bakery deal with Rubicon. You remember the vegan raspberry lemon cupcake that was released last May with what I believe 1,800 Kroger stores if I recall, and that has been a huge success. And they're going to have another release in Florida with the Sprout stores. And it's another deal where there's raspberries there. And they're also working on ways like with Macrina Bakery and their own Rubicon Bakery, places where they can use raspberries in the cupcake, not just the frosting. Lots of things going on. We got Delta Sky Club there, beverage opportunities, something coming out, maybe we've all thought it, it's never been pursued much, but there are people back to the Harvest Tour. There was a lady on the Harvest Tour this summer that is actually in charge of all the Delta Sky lounges around the world. And she's interested in the raspberry flavoring for their drinks. Last year, they served 18 million drinks. And those were all free to the people flying and such. So that's just a straight sale to, or would be to Delta Air. So see, these are new opportunities. There's nothing wrong with the jam and juice the way it's been in the past. But as markets change, then we have to change and our strategy has to change. So that's why I'm up here talking about a couple of these things, because they're a little new and they're a little different. And there's stuff that we didn't do before, but it's stuff that we need to do to continue to compete in the future. So media partnerships, we all know that we'll let Allison deal with that because technology and media don't get along real well. So that can be her part. And just a note on school food service, it's an ongoing process. That's a slow moving vehicle of trying to get into the whole school lunch programs. Maybe we get there, maybe we don't, I'm not sure. We certainly haven't quit, but it is just kind of a slow moving deal. So that's enough from me. At this point, I'd like to introduce Allison. She's here from Texas to visit with us this afternoon. She flew in yesterday. She's been in the booth. She's here to share some facts and to answer questions. So with no further ado, let's welcome Allison. Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Is it on here? Okay, I'm like. I'm not gonna interfere with your phone. Something will go wrong. So. I just turned it off.
I don't know.
Just in case I start moving around. All right, howdy, everybody. Andy, I love that you said howdy earlier. Like, I felt like you're gonna start saying y'all here in just a few minutes. Like, it's happening, it's happening. So it's so great to be here with all of you. And it's been a few years since I've been up here for the Small Groups Conference. So I always love the opportunity to come up and see old friends and growers that we've been working on behalf of for many years now that I may have never even met before. So it's just a pleasure to be up here with all of you. And thank you all again so much for the opportunity to work on behalf of the Washington raspberry industry. Please keep growing raspberries because we truly, my team and I truly love marketing the product and creating new market opportunities for Washington raspberries. We believe wholeheartedly in the opportunity that your product has in the marketplace. As Mark said, though, you know, it's that that things always change in the marketplace, and the consumers that are driving demand today and who are, you know, buying products in the store and creating demand for food manufacturers and in restaurants and food service operations. It's a whole different breed of consumers now, and they have different needs, different interests, and they are willing to spend more for their food than generations in the past. And they they have different values when it comes to food. And we think that, you know, Washington raspberries are just so well positioned to
The camera's on.
be a part of that. And we're working toward, you know, creating and continuing to build demand in this changing consumer marketplace. So I'm going to give y'all a little update on what we've been up to this year. We are coming to the close of our program year right now. So I'm going to play a little video. Well, I'm not going to play it. The technology experts are going to play a little video here in a second, just recapping some of the work that we have done on your behalf for the past year. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about some upcoming activities, and then we'll give just a real brief update on our strategic plan process. Before we play that video, I just want to real quickly, I want to assure all of you that we have a plan. And this, the plan, the marketing plan that we are executing on your behalf is very thoughtfully put together and responds directly to the strategic plan that the Washington Red Raspberry Commission has in place. So we believe firmly that, you know, if you don't have a plan, then you don't know where you're going. And so it's very important that when we are executing marketing programs and designing marketing programs, that they be built on a very solid strategic plan. So we do have this marketing framework for everything that we are doing to make sure that what we're doing at a tactical level ladders back up to key strategies that will help us achieve the goals that have been set out by the commission. So everything that you'll see today is part of this plan, part of this marketing framework. Our 2022 program touched a lot of different areas, from supporting the development of communications assets, consumer marketing, trade marketing. When we say trade marketing, we're talking about marketing into the food service segment or the food ingredient segment. We've done some partnerships with an organization in Florida called Demand American Grown, that's all about promoting American grown produce. Supporting Henry on internal communications. We've got a sustainability audit underway right now, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a bit. We had our harvest campaign this summer. So, you know, just a whole host of different activities, again, that are all built around that framework that responds to the strategic plan. And so with that, I'm ready to play my video. While we're queuing that up, I'm going to actually just jump ahead and talk about the sustainability survey. I want to raise your hand if you have seen the email that's in your inbox about the sustainability survey. Okay, Henry, I'm gonna get with you. We're gonna send out another one of these, because this came right around the Thanksgiving holiday. So I'm gonna give y'all a break that you may not have seen that email, because last week was a holiday week, okay? Right? Just hit play when we're ready. Okay. Okay. So that was my little preview of that. I'm going to talk about the sustainability audit. That was advertisement number 1 for the sustainability audit. I'm going to play my video now. We'll come back to this. Oh, no, I'm going to play it.
Yeah.
All right. So while I am, that's weird, I didn't see myself, that's strange. So while we're switching back over to my PowerPoint, so that just gives you some highlights from what all has happened over the past year. And as you can see, we've had quite a bit of activity going on, some really fantastic events. We're so happy to be able to do some of these events back in person again this year. Like that, we all know that that's really where these great relationships are able to be developed. And I just want to thank Henry and Mark and the entire promotions committee and the board of directors for being so supportive and providing such great input and engagement with us throughout the year. We wouldn't be able to execute these programs and these activities without y'all being a part of it. And so thank y'all so much. Okay, so I'm just going to hit a few quick highlights here. Okay, maybe I'll just use it. Sorry, y'all are going to have to just sit here and listen to me talk again. Oh shoot, I just started it again. Well, perfect timing. So here we are back with where I left off with the sustainability report. So as Henry mentioned, it is so critical for us to get your input on the sustainability audit, the sustainability survey that we have out in the field right now. And I'll work with Henry. We'll get another push of this link emailed out to all of y'all within the next day or two. So please, please, please keep an eye on your inbox for this. Now, what is this? So essentially what we're doing is we are conducting a completely anonymous survey to just collect some information from our growers and processors and our grower processors on the sustainability practices that you already have in place. And as Henry mentioned earlier, and Mark alluded a little bit to this as well, it's really important that we have some, we already know, we have some great practices with regard to sustainability. We know that as an industry. It is more critical now than ever that we be telling that story. As y'all know, consumers are very, very interested in sustainability. The younger generations of consumers, which are, increasingly going to become our primary grocery shoppers, they are very often making purchasing decisions based on sustainability. And so they want to know the sustainability practices and interests and values of an industry. And that consumer demand for from a sustainability standpoint isn't just that with like the fresh or frozen product in the grocery store. It impacts what ingredients food manufacturers are wanting to select. And same thing in food service operations. Their food service operators, restaurants, and chefs are building menus and making menu decisions and ingredient decisions based on sustainability as an attribute. And the same thing with food manufacturing. All food manufacturers are trying to appeal to this consumer who is driving the demand for food products, and they're valuing sustainability. And so that in turn is being passed down to the food manufacturers, who are then sourcing ingredients with a sustainability lens in mind. Now, the good thing with this is that this consumer is also willing to pay more for their food, which is good because y'all should get paid more for your raspberries, right? And And so the more that we are able to talk about what we are doing from a sustainability standpoint and what our industry values in terms of sustainability, and actually put some real numbers behind that, the more we are able to position ourselves for this consumer that is really placing sustainability in a high place of value when they're making food purchasing decisions. So all of that to say, we cannot collect this data and we really can't tell this story well unless we have your participation and your help in completing the sustainability survey. So the survey is going to be out in the field for the next couple of weeks. I'd really love to just ask y'all to get that done in the next couple of weeks before the end of the year. And then what we will be doing is taking that data, analyzing it, and pulling out some key statistics, and then wrapping all of that into a sustainability report on the Washington raspberry industry. So anyway, I'm not going to belabor this point anymore because y'all are probably tired of hearing me talk about this, but just like I said, keep an eye out for your inbox. We're going to make sure that you get the link to this survey so that you can get it completed. And if you have any questions at all on this survey or have any struggles or difficulty with it, reach out to Henry. He can put you in touch with me and we will help you through it. We want this to be as seamless as possible for you. Okay, now in terms of upcoming activities, so you heard Mark mention that we have the baking collaborative that we have been working on now for 2 years. This was a result of a specialty food block grant. It has been a tremendously successful program for us. It's enabled us to reach into a whole new segment of ingredient purchasers, and this is the world of bakers. And we really, had established that this was a segment with a lot of purchasing power and opportunity for processed raspberries. And we've really learned a lot from working just very closely with some key leaders in the baking industry. Our grant work is going to be wrapping up at the end of this month. But what we have thankfully been able to do is to develop some really key relationships with decision makers in the baking industry that I think are going to serve us very well in the years to come. We do have a webinar that the commission is sponsoring with this magazine SW and SF and WB. That stands for Snack Foods and Wholesale Bakery. It's a big trade publication that reaches the baking industry as well as snack food manufacturers. There's going to be a webinar tomorrow that the commission is sponsoring on trends in the top pastry trends and insights. And there will be some raspberry information incorporated into that. So that's coming up tomorrow as we start to wrap up our work with the Baking Collaborative. And then the other thing that's just going to happen this month, y'all may have heard something about this earlier in the year, the OSPI Local Foods Grant. We're expecting to hear back some updates on that later on in December. I think we're already in December. Later on in December. So we're going to have some more information coming in on that. And then also, so we have the lemon raspberry vegan cupcakes that we've worked with Rubicon to develop. And y'all have heard us talk about this before. Hopefully you've tasted these cupcakes when we've had them at events. They are phenomenal. This continues to be the gift that keeps on giving. This cupcake, which is made with Washington raspberries. Those raspberries are pink because those cupcakes are pink because they have the raspberries in them. And this has been a great product for Rubicon. Rubicon is a baking company based out of the San Francisco area. They provide their products to grocery stores nationally. It is definitely a premium product, premium priced. So the type of manufacturer that values the products, the fruit that you grow. And we worked with Rubicon, as you've probably heard us talk about, on the labeling and package design for this product. It has the Washington Red Raspberry logo on it. And we've been able to do some really great co-branded promotions with them. When they launched nationally in Kroger earlier this year, we worked with them on that promotion. They are going to be launching nationally with Sprouts in the first quarter of 23. And so we'll be working with them again on another co-branded marketing push to support the Sprouts launch. And then in addition to that, in February, we have the Berry Health Benefits Symposium. And this is a conference that happens every couple of years. It's been a while since it happened because it really got put off quite a bit with COVID, but it's happening in February. It's gonna take place in Tampa, Florida. And this is a symposium that you may have heard me talk about this in the past, but it is for the entire berry industry, and where they present the latest health and nutrition research on berries of all kinds, including raspberries. So some of the researchers who have been conducting raspberry research over the past several years, they'll be presenting their research at this conference. And then in addition to that, the Washington Red Raspberry Commission is sponsoring one of the educational sessions where we're going to have dietitian Amy Myrtle Miller talking about what messages should be communicated about berries with regard to their health benefits. So she's really going to kind of break it down. You know, how do you talk to consumers? How do you talk to health professionals about the science and research behind the health benefits of berries? So we're really excited about that. And then just in terms of how we're progressing against the strategic plan, so we have a dashboard that we keep updated on. You know, we have a series of goals and key metrics that were set out in the strategic plan that our program is designed to achieve and capture the metrics that we had in place on this. So I just wanted to kind of put this up. I got to belabor these couple of slides, but I do want you to just kind of see into what we've set goals in terms of consumer news, consumer media, and how much consumer media coverage we want to be getting at a minimum each year. Same thing with social media, with trade media, with developing awareness with particular segments of the food service and food manufacturing industry, and so on. So we have a whole set of goals that we are continuing to track our progress against, so that we can make sure that everything that we're doing, again, ladders back up to the goals set out in the strategic plan. And this is just a little bit more. And with that, I am done. And I would love to take any questions that you may have. Or Mark would. I'll put Mark on the spot. Mark says no. You're gonna let me off the hook this evening? Okay, Brad, I can always count on you. Thank you. Yeah, they have a couple of different items that they have been and had in R&D. They've had a cheesecake in R&D, and I think they have another cake that they have been working on. Now, whether those make it all the way through the R&D and testing process remains to be seen. But they remain very, very interested and super engaged. Like they've been a fantastic partner for us to work with. So I think there's good potential that we could see something else come out from them at some point. Next up with Delta. Great question. Just continued follow-up. So the Delta Sky Club promotion that Mark talked about earlier, and I really wish we didn't really have any good cameos of you in that video, Mark, but Mark and you too, Henry. Mark and Henry both were at the launch of this beverage promotion at the SeaTac airport. And I'll tell you what, I think we realized we've got a couple really good salespeople between these two. Henry says it's Mark. So I'm actually thinking Mark might need to be our spokesperson at some point. So the follow-up with Delta is underway right now, Brad, and we'll just kind of continue to stay on their radar, and hopefully that will materialize into more product development opportunities. We're in the follow-up phase. Yep. Yes, Mark.
To add a little more to our visit down there that day, it was a lot of fun, because when you're in Sky Lounge like that, it's not the people that are in for 15 minutes and gone. It's people that are traveling from Europe and going to Asia, and they'll have 5-6 hours to sit. So they have time to come and ask questions. And I was not like with a microphone talking, but I was just behind the table with Macrina had made cakes with raspberries in them. We had raspberry iced tea and it was interesting, the number of questions that these people asked about the raspberry industry. And they love the combination of how we're working together. And one thing I think we should mention about Macrina, they're a very well-known bakery that's based in Seattle. To my understanding, 100% of their raspberries and blueberries are sourced right here in the state of Washington. So they're a great co-partner. But back to being there that day, there was a lot of people with interesting questions. Just it was really fun to just interact with those people.
Yeah, they love the story. They love the story.
Anybody else?
All right, well, thank you all so much.
Should be good. Microphone.
I guess I have to turn it on. Even Andy had slides. Why don't I have slides? Well, while you're bringing that up, I just want to say thanks for being here, tuning in. I think we may have a similar amount of people to the Blueberry guys. Alan, wherever there you are. This is pretty good for, what are you guys doing, 150 million? And we're like 50, 40, 60, so it depends on the year. But thank you so much for being here. One of the things that we haven't mentioned yet, we talked about board members. We have the list up there, but I'd like everybody that's on the board to stand. I'm not the president, John's not here, but John Clark, yeah. Just want to say thanks to you guys. You know, we sit in the office there and talk about things, some of which happens, some of which doesn't. It takes time. We all have busy weeks, busy years, but I just appreciate you guys taking the time to do it. So one of the items that my job to talk about is the advocacy framework, advocacy committee that we have, which the key points are what the work we've done with protecting our markets, section 332 that we got put together with the Department of Commerce a couple years ago. We continue to monitor what's going on. You know, this is a world market, as we all know, and we take that pretty seriously. We had a call a couple weeks ago with our King and Spalding Law Group in Washington, D.C. So we continue to monitor that. They're looking at those reports. They are staying in touch with that, send us information, and we keep a close eye on it. I think what we did, I looked at the letter before I came here this afternoon, got it on my wall, where some representatives in DC, pushed Department of Commerce on the section 332, and I think the market's been a little different since we did that. Not saying it's that, but I think doing what we did showed that we're not just going to go away. We're tough. And so I feel like we need to keep a close eye on it, and we will. So another item that you see at the top there is the FDA frozen berry testing. Unfortunately, I had a couple conversations about this yesterday. This program for Hep A and Noro was put together by FDA. It stopped during COVID. We were trying to get it stopped for permanently. We were not successful. AFI, American Frozen Food Institute, some of you may know that name. They have been incredible to work with. Their office is in DC, not far from FDA's office. They know the FDA folks. Some of us pay, that are processors, pay into AFIA. That's how they are funded. But they've got multiple folks with doctorates that can deal with issues way above our pay grade. But the FDA restarted that sampling program, and it's only on raspberries and blackberries. We won't get into the details on why other fruits weren't included, Ellen. Anyway, we grow blueberries too, so I gotta be careful. But anyway, it's just focused on raspberries and blackberries. And, you know, it's been a bit of a challenge to get through, and they started it back in August. They've been taking samples. We hope they're gonna be done by the end of the year. They're only supposed to be taking samples at processors' facilities or public cold storages, not necessarily at distribution centers or retail outlets, but they continue to do the distribution centers of our customers. That's what I was dealing with yesterday. So interesting challenge there, but you know, we pool resources, we work with our friends like AFI, and you know, we continue to battle. So when we talk about the 10-year strategic plan, I think that Allison and Henry did a better job than I can on that, but there's multiple parts of that we continue to look at. That was an interesting process. I don't, you know, maybe it was fun for some folks. That's not my favorite thing to do, but we battled through it, and now we have a really good foundation and framework that we can follow. We'll continue to follow that. So as with any smaller organization, we all wear lots of hats. And one of the things that Joan did for years, thanks Joan for your service on this, that was our treasurer. So I took that over from Joan, I think in the last year. So we don't have a ton of money to work with, but we do have some goals in mind with what we funded. And this gives you a rundown of what we've put together, what our actual was in 2022, and then what our draft looks like for 2023. So you can kind of go through you can see what we spend on research, plant breeding, which Andy talked a little bit about, and then you see this line item for endowed positions. We continue to fund the endowed position that we're working on with Washington State. We are excited about that opportunity where Raspberry Commission would have a say on who we hire, what they're working on, and we can get a top-notch breeder to help work with Wendy in our industry and maybe look at new varieties. So that is in the works. We have a pretty good amount of that saved. I think by 2024, we will be able to make that payment and get that completed. So this is an exciting time. You can see the marketing piece, Demand American Grown, which we funded last year. We don't plan on doing that this year. Communications, sustainability. Here's the in-store promotion talked about. So you can kind of see how that breaks down. We're sitting right around, the maths are right around $1 million. That's based on those pounds. So that's how it all kind of breaks out. If you have any questions about that or any interest to dive into it deeper, give us a shout. Show up at one of our board meetings and we may volunteer you for something. If you don't show up, we still may volunteer you too. So any questions on that I can answer or not answer or try to answer? All right. So here's the fun part for us when we look at our industry. We have put together this industry service award, and we look at our business. We don't have thousands of growers and thousands of people. There's a group of individuals that have paved the way for us younger guys to do this, make a living, support our families, you guys that work in the industry or sell in the industry, also do the same thing, whether you're growing or selling chemicals or tractors or other things. You know, these guys focused on one thing, but the impact was far beyond that. So you can look at the list up there of the members that have been inducted into this group. Pretty cool group. So we're going to do this every year, and you know, we talked about this as a board and made a decision on who we wanted to join the club, and Steve Midbow is our 2022 recipient, which is really exciting. So quick round. So I was thinking about this earlier and did a little math, and you know, it'd be pretty easy to kind of do some math on, I know how much we spend on chemicals, and I know that's not really what Steve was all about selling. It was about helping growers grow and do better and help get this industry where it is today and continue to make it strong. So I was thinking about, you know, that involves a lot of driving around and seeing fields and go walking through fields. And we've got a video here we'll show in a minute that shows him in action. But I was thinking over those years, you know, X amount of miles every year, I was thinking it's probably about 1.3 million miles he drove in this county. That's my math. Could be wrong, but I think I'm pretty dang close. That's pretty incredible. And when you think about that, when you're driving around, he was the guy that always got out of the truck too. He wasn't the window, you know, the drive by and just see. He was out digging and looking. So you think about how many miles he walked, you know, let's just say in the growing season, 6-7 months. My math's, you know, like 10,000 miles that he walked, a couple of miles a day, walking fields. You want to maybe later again before we are at, but that's dedication, and that's how you make it into this group. And we're pretty excited to be able to induct Steve in this year. So we have a video. We want to show that, and then I'll be able to present the award, and he's got 15-20 speech to give, right?
That's something that always happens when you're out in the field. Stan, I'll have to call you back. I'm busy right now. All right, bye. Now, these look really good too. Beautiful. Nice set of roots, very healthy. So my first exposure to raspberries were with the company of Midsack Farms, and they later became known as Riverberry, and that would have been in the early 80s. I had run a potato farm prior to that, and Raider Farms had bought that out, and I stayed there for a few months and then moved on and started with Riverberry and planted one of their first fields. So it would have been one of the first biggest plantings in Whatcom County at that time, around 1988. The co-op people came and offered me the job, and I've been there ever since March of 1988. 34 years spent looking at these fields, working with raspberry growers. Like I said, being there from the very beginning when raspberries took off and became a major crop, not only in this community, but in this state and in the nation. So for me, every morning, I would step out from my place on the Bob Hall Road, and there was blueberries behind me, raspberries in front of me, and I was at work within 5 seconds and driving through the fields. And this was my office. I spent very little time inside. I spent most of my time and career outside, looking at fields, trying to find the problems. And so this is where people would find me, and this is where I spent most of my time. Here you can see in this particular field, we have the tape is raised with an extra wire so we can see the emitters. When I first started, there was no drip irrigation, and proud to be a part of that and developed that with a number of people. Everybody had been using the big irrigation gun at that time. And when we went to this, the efficiency of the water went from a gun was probably 60-65% efficient as far as watering to 90-something% efficiency of the drip tape. Then we developed tanks and fertigation and injection pumps so we can put things into the tape while we're irrigating to fertigate, and then you might see some applications as early as March through that tape. The big thing that drip has done is applied that water specific to an area of the ground where the roots are, and you're not irrigating out into the roadways or over the top and getting the canopy wet. So we've been able to address a more efficiency with the water down into the roots and less moisture up on the bush, so the fruit itself doesn't get moldy. So we've been able to eliminate some applications of fungicides that way and concentrate on the water down below. To come up with solutions for growers was the thing that really drove me in my career. To find something that was going to work for them, where they were satisfied that the problem was being addressed, but just the reward that they were getting better and better and better was all that I could ask for out of that. And they were successful and we were successful all at the same time. So it was industry driving industry. And you could see that when other people from other countries would come and visit us, meaning because this is one of the main centers for red raspberries in the world, that they took interest into everything we were doing, everything different we were doing. And, you know, they were going to try and copy it, but it takes a group feeding off of one another to make something like this happen. And I, like I said, I was invited to sit in the front row, you might say, and be a part of it. And that was my reward in coming up with solutions for the growers.
For Steve, I think the part that impressed me the most, the part that I appreciate the most about Steve wasn't his extensive knowledge in the raspberry world, but it was more his willingness to share it. Steve was, you didn't have to be around Steve very long to get a sense of his passion for the industry, his desire to do everything he could to sustain and enhance berry production.
The thing that we always appreciated about him was that he was available, and you didn't have to ask him to go out and monitor fields and things of this nature. He was out ahead of time. And the other part of Steve was his relationship with the people that he worked with, and he had a great sense of humor, and that every now and then he would call me and say, "Hey, we need to go to lunch with Daryl." And I know full well that it was his expectation was for Daryl and I to entertain him.
He did a lot of things behind the scenes that most people don't know about. He helped line up research, funding, money to help find solutions to pest issues that we had. He always seemed to have a guy who he knew that could help us out if we ran into something we couldn't figure out. You know, I think one thing I owe my career to Steve Midbow. There's a few people that have helped me out get this far, and he's definitely one of them. And I think I'm not the only one. There's several other guys that the next generation owes a lot to Steve Midbow.
Hey, Steve, I'd like to thank you for all the help you've given the industry. You're always there for us and helping us solve our problems and giving us recommendations. Also, the training you gave the guys at the co-op, the young guns that are coming up and handling things now. They're doing a tremendous job, and you have to be proud of that. You know, I've said it before that relationships are what drive everything in business. And for me, having that relationship with the grower and even getting to know his family and then seeing the generations that would come. I've gone through in my career, I think, 3 generations. I didn't stick around for the 4th. I figured it was time for me to move on. But just that community spirit and the generations of people taking over for their father, who took over from his father, and seeing that in families, it really makes it a family deal in this community. When you look at the growers that do it for a livelihood and for a living, and they keep their family involved, and for me to be able to work with all those generations, highly recommend.
So it's not easy to sum up 34 years into a video, and some guy up here talking really is hard, but we're doing our best. So I just want to say thanks to you, Steve. Come on up here, please. Let's give him a round of applause. I think Steve may remember he gave me one of these for my dad. My dad wasn't able to be here. And there's been a few of these boards given, the guys haven't been here. So we're glad you're here. Yeah. And that was the goal. We just got to get out and get these awesome guys and get them up here and say thanks and do something. So let's say a few words.
When Matt and Brad came to me, that was one of my first thoughts, that these are a bunch of old guys that you give this to, and they are no longer here. And then they reminded me Clark was still here. Oh, that made me feel so much better. But you know, John, what are you turning, about 80 this year? All right, Johnny, are you here? No? Oh, basketball. Oh, that's right. He's got Jackson's basketball. Anyway, so happy to be a part of this industry, and again, I'd like to say, when I was given this job some 30 years ago, I was literally handed a front row seat to all the changes and improvements that were happening in the red raspberry industry. And of course, I have many people to thank for that. First, I'd like to thank the Red Raspberry Commission and to all those who have served for the betterment of the red raspberry industry. So thank you. Secondly, I want to thank all the growers and the private consultants of the growers and the researchers, both private and university people, and all the chemical reps. do up here today, where we did these on-farm and in-field trials for all those years. So thank you. And a big shout out to my co-op crew. They supported me all those years. The formulas I gave them and how to do it, and they continue to do it all those years I was with them. And lastly, for my wife Becky and family, thank you for allowing the time to be able to do all those things, because it did take time. One thought I'd like to share with you before I close, though, is words of encouragement. You might say, sage advice. And they come from three different people. One was from my dad, and he says, work hard, always be available. The other was from my mom, be a giver, not a taker. Givers have way more fun and they live in peace. Third one was from a guy you might know, he hired me. His name was John Quantz. And he said, the day he hired me, I asked him why. And he said, well, you know, you look like you're pretty good with people. And this job and life is all about personal relationships. And I thought about that, and I tried, those would be my guidelines of my career. And I think the most important thing that I could say to each and every one of you is to work on your personal relationship, because when it comes down to in life, there's one relationship you've got to get right. I'll let you think about that, which one that is. But I'd like to say thank you again. I'm honored to be a part of that group. Thank you.
Steve, Lisa was awesome. I'd like to invite the board members that are here up. We're going to get a quick picture with this guy. So Matt, Andy, Mark, Turo. Great. Thank you.
Wait a second, Henry.
All we have.
I think so. That is it. Please, people, if you have any questions, you don't have to make this formal. Talk to these guys, just on board. You know what they're up to. Give us some advice, give us some criticism, whatever it might be. Give us some help. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Henry. Thanks a lot for coming. We're gonna get started in the other room, the CHS room, for our last presentations at 3:30. So we got a nice long break here, and we'll be back there at 3:30. And there is one more pesticide credit available at that time. See you then.
Yeah, that's what I think we should do.
We did our part. We should do like even if it's not. Let's do it.